This show is brought to you by our partners, talkSPORT Bet. New customers get an exclusive offer of £40 in free bets when you bet £10. Go to talksportbet.com/Inside Liverpool to claim this offer now.
Yeah, well, it's definitely been a painful week.
I'm seeing fans, if you want to call them that, online, social media, absolutely slating the teams. There's a lot going on at the club at the minute, and there's a lot going on with them players as well, which a lot of people tend to be forgetting in the fact that they've lost a good friend.
You know, in this sort of an experimenting period, well, the 1 point off the top.
He needs 1 goal, 1 assist, whether it's a screamer, whether it comes off his backside.
I didn't know what I was listening to on Sky when I'm hearing Gary Neville saying it's a swing weekend. 6 games played.
Yeah, but the positives are we're second in the table, we're 1 point behind Arsenal. I think people are using the word crisis at the moment at Liverpool. Let's not be so pathetic and ridiculous.
Man United fans are going to hate me for saying this. Nowadays, it's excitement because we know we're going to beat them.
Hello and welcome to the latest episode of Inside Liverpool with talkSPORT on talkSPORT's YouTube channel. And a slightly different Inside Liverpool because normally when we've been doing this show over the last year to 18 months, it's all just good news, winning football matches, winning Premier League titles. It's been a tricky, difficult week for Liverpool Football Club. We're going to try and dissect everything that's happened and look forward as well. I'm your host, Sam Ellard. Ryan Bromilow, as always, alongside me on Inside Liverpool, and the 2-time British super middleweight champion, Paul Smith, is making his debut. Hi, guys. How are we?
Good, thank you.
Good, mate, yeah.
So since we've last done a show, it started off well, beating Southampton in the Carabao Cup. But since then, a defeat at Crystal Palace. There was that defeat as well in the Champions League against Galatasaray. And on Saturday, just gone, Ryan, the defeat away at Chelsea. You were at the Chelsea game, you were at the Palace game. What's been happening? Why do you think it's been a tricky week or so for Liverpool Football Club?
Yeah, well, it's definitely been a painful week, hasn't it? You know, 3 defeats in six days. And that is the first time we've done that under Slot as well. So it feels fairly semi-historic as well under this new boss. I think the general gist of it for me is with making too many changes. So 5 against Galatasaray, come in against Chelsea. We take Salah out, we take Isak out in midweek in the Champions League. And I think, you know, it's not then necessarily about talent, it's about repetition. And, you know, football's about knowing the man that's next to you, isn't it? And the challenge there for me is if you keep chopping and changing that, where are you going to get the consistency? The bedrock of our consistency last year was we had pretty much the same 11 up until February, March. I mean, Slot even referenced that's where we actually run out of steam in that week where we played PSG, where we played Newcastle in the Carabao Cup, because we played the same players all the way through the season. But that's where I felt, you know, we would hurt teams because they all knew their roles. We pretty much knew what the first choice 11 would be. It always felt like Diaz would start down the centre and Gakpo would be off the left. So everyone knew their place, and that's why there was a natural chemistry. My general feeling is this year, you know, he's still searching for that, and whether that's by design because he's still experimenting and he's still trying to bed players in, or whether that's simply because he still doesn't know what his best 11 is. Yeah,
it does feel like, Paul, that he's almost maybe experimenting on the job, whether it's playing Wirtz as the 10, Wirtz out wide, Sabozlai at right back, chopping and changing that front three. It does almost feel like, last year I felt like everything was settled. We would dominate football matches, we'd be in control of football matches, and everything this year just feels like he's almost experimenting on the go.
Yeah, it does. We're seeing Sabozlai at right back, and we've just signed Frimpong. And I know he's had a little injury, and there's been other injury issues in the team already, but we are seeing a lot of chopping and changing. I think Wirtz will come good. I think I was trying to explain this to my son. I was watching a match on the weekend, and them stats men, them technical people, technical director, whatever you want to call them, they go out and do the homework on the player, and they analyse everything and they watch every single last detail. They're not wrong. They're not, and there's not just one, it's so many people that have watched him, studied him. To then go out and spend all that money on him, that's a big, big investment. And I think ultimately, it's not that he can't fail. I think the only way he'll fail will be an injury. I think he'll come good in the end, and it'll take a little bit of time settling into the Premier League. It's obviously a faster, more aggressive, more powerful league for anyone, especially from the Bundesliga. And I think Harry Kane's absolutely dominating over there, which shows you obviously there is a difference in the level. But I think he'll come good in the end. But yeah, it's a new season of experimenting a little bit, trying to implement Slot's style and Slot system with his team. Last season it was obviously Klopp's team, but we've done so great, so we're a bit spoilt, aren't we? A bit spoilt for choice, because we obviously won the league last season, doing so well with an inherited team. This time he's got to make his own mark on it, and we're struggling a little bit at the moment, but I'm not getting too carried away.
Well, you're sort of damned if you do and you're damned if you don't, aren't you? Because if you think about when Liverpool won the league last time out under Klopp, they didn't bring in that many bodies, and they were criticised for that because they were standing still at the top. And now you've got a situation where they're trying to reinvent this team, give it a new lick of paint, give themselves different options and different weapons, and find that creativity and style in a different way. So instead of getting the creativity from Trent, you get it from Wirtz. You know, you have you're out and out number 9 for the first time in what feels like 10, 11 years. You know, you think about the forwards that we've had recently, they've never fit that profile. So I do think there is an element of you are damned if you do or you're damned if you don't. But there's no harm, I don't think, in bringing that talent into the squad. They just need to start building that consistency, repetition, which I think will come with time. The problem that Liverpool have is if it continues with this sort of stop-start rhythm, they're going to find themselves well off the pace in and around Christmas.
I'm not panicking either. I think he will click. It will find its own way. You know, they will all sort of gel. There's a lot going on at the club at the minute, and there's a lot going on with them players as well, which a lot of people tend to be forgetting, in the fact that they've lost a good friend of theirs. And I know we'll get onto that more in detail later, but that's going to be very difficult for them to get over. We're fans. For people who even met him, we're fans. It's forgotten about. Not forgotten because we still sing his name. It was a tragedy. It broke everyone's hearts. But then people in that club were with him every day. That's the friend. And then I'm seeing fans, if you want to call them that, online, social media, absolutely slating the team, slating the players, slating everything about them. They should be doing this, they should be doing that. And if you just scroll down their page to 6 weeks ago, they were talking about how much we should give the players a lot of leeway this season because of what's happened and everything else, and the amount of players that have been out the door through transfers as well. It's a very, very interesting season, and I'm not expecting much of us at all this season. I wasn't really before the ball was kicked, and I'm still not now. But we're 1 point off the top.
And we've had some tricky games as well.
And we've had tough games as well, as we spoke about.
I think the tragic loss of Jota is something that should be spoken of. I think Virgil van Dijk referenced it after the game on Saturday. And I even think Enzo Maresca, and I haven't heard too many other opposition players and opposition managers talking about it. I might be wrong, but I haven't seen it. Enzo Maresca mentioned that, saying, hang on a minute, when talking about Liverpool, let's not forget what happened only a month or so ago. So I think it's right to mention that, Paul, because he's not just a teammate, a player. It's family. I mean, these guys would have literally spent every day together. They would have travelled together. They'd have had good times together, bad times together. So we should never forget that, should we? And we know the fans will never forget this thing, his name on the 20th minute every single game. But what the players are going through, what the backroom staff are going through, it's tragic.
And that song will hit it home to the players every single 20 minutes in every game. They'll be hearing his song being sung on the terraces, and they're not soft, the players. They know their own songs. They know when they're hearing their own songs. They know the other songs. They sing the other songs to the players on the bus. We've seen it all. We've seen the laughing, joking, and the camaraderie between the players at the training ground.
You got a season ticket, Paul. How have you found the atmosphere kind of going this season? I mean, has it, obviously the first game of the season we know was incredibly emotional because it was the first league game back. But have you noticed a shift in anything?
Yeah, I've noticed at the home games, I've noticed it's been a little bit flat. Just my opinion. Some Sundays you get there after Cop have been on the air the night before, they probably get hangovers. You get that. I've had it myself in the past when I used to drink. You turn up in the match, the last thing you need is to stand there screaming, have someone by your ear screaming. But you're there to watch the football and support your team and get behind your team. But it's been a little bit flat. I felt, especially a couple of the home games at the start. Obviously the Arsenal one was completely different, but it's been a little bit flat. But everyone's just buzzing the footballs back. Everyone's happy coming back to match again. And then you want to try and obviously not think too much about what we've lost in Jota and a couple of other players that we've lost. But we're only all human. It's going to happen. But I think a lot of fans do need to understand that and accept that. There's a lot going on with the players. There's a lot going on behind the scenes with the players. And I'm not speaking like privileged information or inside information, but what you're hearing isn't the best from the players. They're struggling because they've lost a friend.
Yeah, no, well said, Paul. to the game on Saturday, Jamie Carragher said Liverpool aren't playing football at the moment, they're playing basketball. It's just end-to-end, and I don't think top teams play like that. And my criticism of Liverpool being almost like a basketball team has again come back to haunt them. This thing about it being end-to-end in a game of football. Liverpool should be dominating a game like this with the changes of personnel Chelsea have got. We've done lots of watch-alongs together, Ryan. I've used the word control a lot this season. Liverpool this season don't seem capable of controlling games of football. And even in the first 5 games this season, games that we were winning, I don't think we were playing particularly well in those games. You know, I think Newcastle away when they had 10 men was a struggle. Even something like, the Arsenal game before Szoboszlai put one in after the 86 minutes, it didn't seem like we were dominating that game. I wanted Szoboszlai, Gravenberch, McAllister, the try and trusted midfield three of last season to come back together in that midfield three, and I thought that would help. But that has happened in the last couple of games, and it still feels like it is a bit of a basketball game. What do you think needs to change, guys, for us to kind of be a bit more like the team of last season?
I will go back to it. I think a lot of it rests on consistency. I think, and if you're half a yard off it, if you're second-guessing yourself, which it feels like at times this Liverpool team are, because, 3 days before, it was a completely different 11. We've seen that in cup competitions, in the Carabao Cup, the FA Cup. When he makes wholesale changes and then does it again in the Premier League, the team you see in the Carabao Cup never have a great first half, and then you usually have to introduce 1 or 2 familiar faces to get them over the line. So what's concerned me is the amount of changes that he's making. And I said it might be by design because he's trying to bed these players in. Some of them haven't had a pre-season, so he's thinking, how do I get the best out of my 11? And he's also probably, if he is looking at this as a potential pre-season, in this sort of an experimenting period, well, they're 1 point off the top. So, he's not lost too much from that, and he's only got more to gain if he's still feeling that out. But if you look at the first goal against Chelsea, McAllister's off it. He's frantic. He's chasing the ball. He doesn't quite know when the sort of trigger is to press.
Sure.
And as soon as he does that, against the midfield of, let's not forget, Caicedo, Fernandes, and Lavia when he came on in the second half. He was worried about Lavia. They were able to find ways around that.
But I thought it was concerning how easy it was for Caicedo to get. It was almost like it was 2 simple passes. And they completely.
But I think that's when it always comes down to the arguments of it. It's a broader piece, isn't it? It's not just the midfield. It's everything. If you don't get the press right in the first phase, then that leaves yourselves vulnerable. Carragher, I think, talked about in his comments that we have an extra man in that back line, and that's what they do. They give themselves another option, but that then leaves you light in midfield. And when you're playing against such a, I think that's a quality midfield. There's not much better midfields than Caicedo.
It's a £220 million midfield, isn't it? So it should be half decent.
There isn't that many better midfields, certainly in the Prem or even in Europe. And they've got real quality. So if you're 5% off it, which Liverpool were, let's not forget in that first half, then he will hear you.
You mentioned Wirtz, Paul, at the top. I think we're seeing glimpses of him. Yeah. Some night, we saw the touch, didn't we, after when he came on in that second half. When another day that would have been a goal for Salah, it'd have been an assist, and perhaps people would just stop, complaining about him. And I want to echo, by the way, your thoughts at the top. I have absolutely no doubt this kid's going to be a superstar. Yeah. Michael Edwards, Richie Hughes, the top of that football club, transfers and stuff. Michael Edwards in particular doesn't get much wrong, does he?
No.
Go back to the Klopp days. The recruitment's been pretty spot on. So I've got no doubt he's going to be a success. He needs 1 goal, 1 assist, whether it's a screamer, whether it comes off his backside. The outside noise will stop, and we'll see the best of him. And we're seeing the odd touch, the odd little flick of real quality. But what's interesting is, where does he fit into this best team? We've seen him come from the left-hand side. We've seen him come from the 10. How do you think, where would you like to see Florian Wirtz? Where do you think his best position is?
Honestly, wherever the manager thinks his best position is and wherever he fits in the best. Like, I'm no expert on football. I say this every time. I've got season tickets. I've been going to matches since I was 5. But I'm not going to argue with a manager or someone like Jamie Carragher when he's sorting about stats. Like, Carragher, I'm lucky enough to know him, lucky enough to call him a mate. He educates me so much on football when I watch Monday Night Football, and he'll pause it and he'll go, look at him, not looking, look at him there. I think I know football when I'm watching it. And then you watch something like that and it opens your eyes completely to stuff that you're not aware of, what the pro is seeing. And that's how it is with every sport, obviously. But with Wirtz, obviously, if he's playing in the front of a solid 2 midfielders as the third member of the midfield, I think that's where he's done the most damage over in Germany, but he veers over slightly to the left from what I've heard and what I've seen. Once he gets his goal or his assist, I think he'll relax a bit more. I think he'll chill a bit more. I think he'll be able to sort of the pressure's off a little bit, and I think we'll see him coming into his own. I've got no doubts about him, hopefully, but I'm speaking just as a fan. I'm speaking half sort of hoping and wishful thinking.
No, we're all speaking as fans, aren't we? Here?
Yeah, of course. I really want to see the
best of him, don't we?
I really want to see him do well, and I really want to get behind every one of the players. And some of them over the years, it's been very difficult to do that because I'm hoping that I'm proved wrong by some players that I have the doubts about. With him, I don't really have the doubts.
Oh, I still, in my mind, think Darwin Núñez is going to score 25 goals for us next season. Every single summer, I said it's going to be next season. I'm trusting you, Darwin. Yeah. We all wanted that one to work out, didn't we?
To be fair,
don't get me started.
I think all three of us might bag 20 in the Saudi League.
I take my auntie to the game with me, and she loved him. She absolutely loved Núñez.
He worked
and she'd be like, he's going to come good. He's going to come good. And I'm like, I just can't see it. And we'd have a debate all the time, and then he'd do something wrong. He'd come on, he'd smash into someone, get a yellow card, and then all the fans would sing Núñez.
Yeah.
And it used to frustrate the life out of me.
You missed the bit out where he misses a chance from 3 yards out.
He misses a chance from 3 yards, and then the next thing they'd be singing his name at the top of the voice.
But he worked his socks off, didn't he?
And the same fans are jumping on Salah's back now because he's just a little bit below par.
Yeah, well, I mean...
It gets quite frustrating.
Yeah, I know. But this is the modern age, isn't it, of sort of social media now. It's one bad game, and a manager's one defeat away from the sack. He's one win away from being held as the next best thing. We spoke about this before with Jermaine, haven't we, Ryan? That does it feel like Salah's really missing Trent? Because Trent, we know, generational passer. He had that really good understanding with Salah, those first-time balls to set Salah away. And he is the moment Salah he's clearly not impacting games, is he? Anywhere near as much as what we've been used to over the last few years.
Well, firstly on it, what I would say is when Salah has a bad game, Liverpool tends to have a bad game. And last season he didn't have many of those. So in terms of the impact that he had on this side last year, they always looked to him as the focal point. This year it's a little bit different because Núñez has left, Diaz has gone, tragically Jota too. So there's been a lot of upheaval in that front line. So in terms of him finding his way and how he then takes on this next iteration when he is getting older, and he knows he's not the stars, when you bring in Wirtz and Isak in one window, and even Ekitike, you know that you're not the future. You're going to be part of that in the interim, but his contract runs out in 2 years' time. So I think there's definitely a degree of him still finding a way to slot in with this new 11 and how he relates with Isak. And if I thought Sturridge's comments were really interesting actually on the weekend, where he talked about the front three having different components. And Salah, you have one that is allowed to do what they want, one is the premier marksman, and then the other person gives you that sort of tireless work ethic. And he doesn't feel like the balance is right at the moment. And Salah probably benefited a lot from Núñez doing that selfless running and that tireless sort of chasing. And Diaz as well. He was always the leader of that front line. He was always looked to. You can imagine Núñez and Diaz looking, going, "Come on, you're gonna bail us out of this one." I don't know if that front line are looking at him in the same way like that. I don't think Hugo Ekitike or Isak, I think you're going to be the one that bails us out of trouble here because they trust that they're going to be the guy. So maybe there's still understanding who is the main focal point of this team going forward, and you have to almost build your team in and around that. But make no mistake, I think Liverpool in the next couple of weeks will be looking to him to be dragging us out of this particular.
I thought on the first game, again, just my limited knowledge of impression, was I thought Frimpong cancelled a lot of Salah's stuff out, and there's not many, like Trent never used to really overlap much on Salah, but Frimpong does.
It's a pretty different profile of right back, isn't it?
It's a totally different type of player behind him, and a player that, from what we're all hearing, is slot wants to get forward a lot more, Frimpong, and he'll bring him on as a winger and not necessarily a right back.
He played there, didn't he, in the Champions League, right?
Exactly, that's what I mean. So I felt on the first game, Salah didn't have the best of games because of maybe Frimpong and where Frimpong was at. The Bournemouth game, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And I don't know whether this new system, and I keep hearing the phrase, a new system, I don't know what it is yet. I don't know what the new system is. I remember hearing something when we first got slot that we might have three centre-halves, and then you see the players moving over. The right-back all of a sudden moves into centre-half, and Gravenberch drops back into centre-half. Like, it's a strange system, and some of my limited knowledge doesn't quite get it yet, but it will all click eventually. You've got to just sort of trust to have a bit of faith and be there when it happens?
Yeah, definitely. I think he needs to settle though on that right side, and what is his first choice right side, because I don't think Salah helps out the right back in
he doesn't track back, does he? And last season it was fine because he's scoring goals every game. Exactly. But when he's not scoring or assisting, and he's then also not doing the defensive side of things, It really does feel like.
And he's got an even more advanced role in this slot system, because that was a conversation he had with the manager at the start of last season to say that I will be this guy for you, but you have to give me more freedom and licence on that right side. So in the same way that he's not providing that protection to right back, we talked about missing Trent. Well, he's just missing some consistency at the moment, because he doesn't know who's going to play there. Is it going to be Bradley? Is it going to be Frimpong? Is it going to be Szoboszlai? And he's got a different relationship with Szoboszlai in midfield than he would do at right back. So trying to preempt what the move will be, or the action from the right back's pretty impossible, because you're still trying to work out what's his idea. And especially when Liverpool are under the cosh and they are struggling as a team in general, then they've got they're getting those questions more frequently as well this season. So I do think that until he sorts out this right side, you're going to still have the vulnerability on that right flank. And I wonder whether or not Joe Gomez is the solution.
Okay.
I wonder whether or not Joe Gomez provides a little bit of stability on that right side, experience. When he come on against Arsenal as well earlier this year, I thought he was top. He'd come on for Canate, I think, the last 20 minutes, and he was top. He saw the game out, and we didn't really, we didn't struggle from there on. So maybe he shuts down this right side. He gives us a bit more protection, but there's some familiarity. But ultimately, what Slot needs to do is just stick with someone.
Yeah.
Whoever it is, just stick with them.
A little bit of consistency moving forward.
Give him a little bit of consistency. Have your rotations during the week, but give us some consistency on that right side.
I know Bradley struggled, didn't he? It was an yellow card, that's why he got hooked at half-time. But I'm not a massive fan of Szoboszlai playing there right back. I think one of the main strengths we had last season was Szoboszlai's ability in midfield to really press high up the pitch, be really aggressive, win the ball back. And he obviously can't do that, can he, at right back, to try and close down
He showed us glimpses defenders. Of that against Chelsea, didn't he? I saw little glimpses of that when he was in the middle against Chelsea. I think he's a good right back for someone who's substituting, obviously not in his natural position as well. I think he's done well while he's been there. But as you say, I'd rather, if we've got Conor Bradley and Frimpong, I'd rather see one of them at right back. Yeah. And see Szoboszlai in his own natural position. But then where do you play Wirtz then if that's the case?
This is the thing, isn't it? You can't get them all in. I mean, Alexander Isak got the nod to start as the number 9. Then talking from the left-hand side, because probably our best signing and maybe our best player this season has been Hugo Ekitike. Start the season off really well, playing as number 9 when Isak wasn't in, looked really good in front of goal. Do you think him from the left-hand side could possibly be the right option?
I mean, that's what
forward?
I would like to experiment with. And we've already experimented a lot.
We've got 15 different teams in, haven't we, for the next
challenge? My opinion, last season, the left side was predominantly Diaz. Now he's gone, and it's a big miss. And you don't really understand at the time or feel that way at the time, but it's looking like it's a big
He's a bit of an underrated player, Paul.
And Gakpo probably did, in my opinion, I didn't think he had a good game on the weekend. But, again, who might to criticise? Hopefully he'll get better and find his groove, but I'd rather probably start Ekitike on the left, considering how Gakpo was on the weekend, and give him a chance, because he's in form at the minute. He's scored and assisted himself.
Gakpo at the moment. He's obviously got this trademark move where he takes it down the flank and then cuts in on this right foot. Doesn't he? I've always felt that he just doesn't look that threatening in those positions. He looks lethal at Anfield sometimes when he's arriving at the back stick, and he's always on the. He's got a good relationship with Mo, but I don't think he offers us something that's lethal at the moment.
Two substitutions. So that's from Gravenberch when centre back, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I thought that was really, really strange.
He does do that quite a lot.
No, I know, but did you not think, given that game and where that game was at, if Canate is coming off, would it not have just made more sense?
I think maybe he's caught in
just go like for like, and instead of bringing on Endo and pushing Gravenberch back.
I think maybe he's caught in two minds in the final 20 minutes. I think if you dissect that 30-minute, that's half an hour, it'll probably last 20 minutes. Liverpool started brilliantly. He had about 3 or 4 chances that probably should have took one of them.
After it went 1-1, I did think the second goal was definitely coming.
That's where they were pushing really hard, and then Chelsea just took control in the final 15 minutes. So I think he probably brought Endo on to give us a little bit of control, because we talked about the balance being quite, a little bit off in midfield, and against Chelsea you can get hurt by that. Slot respects Chelsea a hell of a lot. You've seen that in terms of his comments about them potentially.
The home game last season as well.
The home game last year, why he thinks they should have been in a title race. And I think he's trying to avoid what then eventually happened, which was the Palace end result where we lose the game in stoppage time, and in the same way that it happens for Esteval, because sometimes you can just sense, this is not going our way, and there's a few things that are falling for them. So maybe I just think he was probably caught in two minds. I think
also with Endo though, don't forget Konate had a stinker.
Yeah.
And Gravenberch playing centre half was better than what Konate was playing, and I'm glad Slot actually said something about it. I saw it in an interview. He mentioned obviously, even if it wasn't the injury, I probably would have took him off, because as soon as Gravenberch went centre half, we were a better team.
Sure.
He was playing better than Konate, and again, frustrating for me watching as a fan, watching Konate playing the way he's playing at the moment, especially when we're hearing these rumours and stories and things that he might not want to be here, or he might be interested in Madrid turning his head or whatever else. And I couldn't blame any player for clubs like that showing interest, but it's not good when you're not performing at your top level for fans and people like me to be able to jump on your back for not playing at your best or to your best standards, with your high standards, when obviously there's talk about being somewhere else.
The whole right side's not at its best, is it? Konate and then whoever's in that position next to him, whether that be Bradley, Frimpong or Szoboszlai, is just not at its best.
Yeah. So I thought he was going to start Gomez as centre-back in that game. I thought he was going to Gomez as centre-back, and thought he was going to pick Robertson over Kirkes. Not because Kirkes has done too much wrong. I just thought he might have tried to have gone a little bit more back to try and trust.
I was happy with the team when I saw it, because it was more like the old team. It was more like the old formation.
Yeah, the midfield three were back together, weren't they?
The old positions, the 4-3-3 back, and I was sort of a lot more confident. I was expecting Robertson.
But do you think that's what it is, though, Paul? I mean, you've been at the top in your own respective sport. When people are talking about you and there's stuff going on outside of your sport, when you get into that ring, can that affect you? Is that what's possibly happening with Konate? That these poor performances are because of all the outside noise? Can it be as straightforward as that?
Honestly, I couldn't compare with that. Like, boxing and football are totally different, obviously, but you're a sportsman, you're performing at the top level. And all I can say on it is, if you're not right mentally, there's no point in even going on a pitch or going in the ring. If you're not right mentally, if any of them football players were boxers, they would not be fighting. They're not ready. They're not mentally right. They wouldn't be fighting. But you have to play, because it's the Premier League. The league's not going to stop for you just because you've had
8 games every month. Yeah.
You're playing probably twice a week, some weeks.
Yeah.
And
every week pretty much now.
There you go, and you've got to do it, and that's it. And I understand it. I understand the sport. I understand the whole league. I understand how much money, finances, publicity, everything that's involved with it, and the show must go on. That's life. I get that. But I sympathise for them, because mentally they're not going to be 100%. Not a chance. But on sports, different sports, they say it's 80% mental and 20% physical. And I agree with that. And that's why I think, obviously, there will be a lot of struggling going on in the team at the minute. Even if you're not right 100%, forget the Jota loss. Even if you're not right just because your head might be turned. But we saw the stick Trent got towards the end of the season. And listen, a lot of it people will say was rightly deserved, and a lot of people will try and defend him. But in the end, he did what he did, and the players and the fans reacted accordingly. They're doing so with Konate, but it's not fair on him. It's not looking good when he's not performing at the top level. If there's rumours of his head being turned. Yeah,
and I don't want to go back to the summer and talk too much about transfers, but on the summer, it felt like we had pretty much near the perfect window. We strengthened all the positions we needed to: right back, left back, the backup keeper had already come in, all the attacking players. We know that. I know that no one knew that the Leone injury was going to happen, but they clearly wanted another centre-back because they went for Gahey on deadline day, right? Yeah. And they thought they were going to get Gahey. He was having a medical until obviously Paz couldn't get a replacement. So the only thing I was surprised about was that they wanted a centre-back and they left it that late to try and go in and get a centre-back. I'm a little bit surprised that it wasn't done earlier on in the transfer window, and almost. I think we spoke to Dimmy a lot in the summer that we needed the top-class centre-back to come in as cover for Konate, whether he was going to leave, just another option. So I do find this. I feel like we are maybe a little bit short of centre-back, and I'm surprised we maybe weren't a little bit more ruthless earlier on in the window to get that sorted rather than wait till deadline day to try and get Gahey, which was always going to be difficult.
Yeah, I mean, maybe they were too smart for their own good.
Possibly.
And they felt
they just thought they were going to get Gahey like that.
And also there was a few junctures in that window that they felt they had to pass through. They played in the Community Shield, which is quite a big
Against
one.
Palace,
They
yeah.
played their first game in Europe as well. So there was games in that pre-season where he needed to be involved, and Glasner wanted him involved, and ultimately wanted him to stay. So I think they were probably thinking, in the same way with, look, they held their nerve with Isak, and they got Isak over the line. You could argue that was the harder deal. So in terms of, she said, they know what they're doing. In terms of how they operate, I wouldn't question that approach, because if it pans off, then you're looking at a brilliant window. But it does leave us very vulnerable.
Doesn't football always have a funny way of doing that?
Yeah,
though?
it does,
You need a centre-half, and all of a sudden your centre-half's going to get injured. There's something
Miss
you
the
need,
season pretty much,
and your striker's going to... It always seems to have a funny way of doing that, doesn't it?
Yeah, but maybe that's where Gomez could have a bigger role to play. Leone's is a massive blow. He likes having the idea of Gravenberch at the back. I think he brings...
Endo's played there, hasn't he, in the past?
Yeah,
Was it under Klopp?
Yeah, but I think the reason why he keeps putting Gravenberch there is because he thinks the build-up play from that right side is much better with Gravenberch, rather than what Canate's offering at the moment. And there was hints...
I don't want to go too old school. I do think that your centre-back should be the two best defenders possibly.
But again, not in this side. I mean, certainly on our side, the way, if you look at where the press box looking, I saw quite a lot of our right side in the first half. And Konate stepped up a number of times in the first 15, 20 minutes. And he got a few right. And he's pinching the ball high up. And McAllister was swivelling on it. And it was onto Salah. We didn't look that threatening when we got into that position, because Salah's still trying to work out. He plays a ball through to Isak, which was a hospital pass more than anything else, because he just plays it straight. And Barry Shield sort of barges him off the ball. And then he started to get that wrong. Chelsea had 10 minutes where, they were feeling that out, and then eventually they started to pick that apart. And as soon as he did that, he lost confidence, and then he started to look frantic, and then he started to look jittery, and it was all last ditch then, and the half a yard off it then. So, sometimes it is a case of, those moments breed confidence. He probably thought as well, if he's won the ball back on halfway and Liverpool have done nothing with it, and he does it again and Liverpool do nothing with it, he starts to lose confidence that, that's the route towards going, and think, right, well, what else do we need here? We need our players to step up. So that's why, in many ways, the managers always talk about it being more on the collective rather than individual performances, because that spreads through the team.
Yeah, let's hope he finds form again, Konate, because last season, let's not forget, he was unbelievable, wasn't he? Him and Van Dijk together, he was solid, and maybe, I don't know, we'll find out sooner or later what's going to happen with the contract. It's one of those just gets, we don't want another Trent situation, do it, dragging on for the whole season. Is he going to go on a free, come out, announce something, get it done, and then we all know what's happening, and we can all just move on, and that's not then a distraction lingering over him in the football club all season.
I agree. How many times you heard the pundits and the former league winners and you can't win the league without a good defence, and you need two good, solid centre-halves.
That's why I'm worried about Arsenal
to win the league. I know. Well,
they're not conceding goals, are they?
I'm not worried about them yet.
And also, one thing we should say, we do go into international break a point behind Arsenal. But, Bournemouth at home, first game of the season, Bournemouth are a top team. Yeah. We had to go to Newcastle, where that game was crazy for obvious reasons, with the whole league stack thing. We played Arsenal at home, beating them. We had to go to Chelsea. We had to go to Crystal Palace. We had the Merseyside derby. So, I mean, those games, they're quite a tough set of opening fixtures, aren't they?
The tough fixtures, but again, I didn't know what I was listening to on Sky when I'm hearing Gary Neville saying it's a swing weekend. 6 games played.
Yeah, it feels early for it to be a swing weekend, doesn't it?
You say it's like a forced narrative, doesn't it?
It's this forced narrative, and then it's just like we get stick. These Scousers playing the violin again. It's the 6th game, and you're calling it a swing weekend.
Yeah,
we've had quite a tough start anyway. And this weekend, when Arsenal got the last-minute winner, I could hear Neville again, absolutely buzzing and delighted. I said last weekend was a swing weekend. Now this is and the minute we lose, it's the same thing. The league's finished.
You haven't got a friend in Paul Smith.
You and Gaz not mates, so you're not.
I don't mind.
Does he not get invited to boxing fights?
I don't mind him whatsoever.
You prefer Jamie, yeah?
Yeah, I prefer Jamie. I was trying to set up a fight with them both for charity, and trying to get Jamie to actually.
That'd have been good to raise money for charity. Back in Carragher in that one.
I respect him massively for what he's done, but the commentary, come on, it's obviously no secret you're a Man United fan, and you're a fan of whoever's playing Liverpool and Man United, obviously, but it's 6-7 games in. There's still plenty to go in this league.
Lots of football to play.
The only thing I would say about that tough start, just given the counterbalance for a second, and why there will be probably little sympathy for that from opposition supporters, is you have brought in, Florian Wirtz, you've brought in Alexander Isak, you've brought in Hugo Ekitike. The concern I have with Slot is when he talks about small margins, because I can see exactly what he's saying. Salah's played in beautifully by Wirtz at the start of the second half against Chelsea. If he buries that, it's a completely different game, that second half.
And Salah of last season, by the way.
And Salah of last season would do that.
I think with his left foot, he just bends out into the far corner. Snatching it, isn't he, a little bit, Salah?
He's snatching that, so... if he scores.
And what a ball, by the way, from Wirtz.
Oh, it's brilliant.
The flick, the turn was remarkable.
That was brilliant. So I can see why he says the small margins, but when you bring in that level of talent, you're almost hedging your bets that you've got far more to overpower other opposition. And I look at the Chelsea game; it probably was an opportunity mix because they had 6 centre-halves out. Before the game, without Fofana, Colwill, Chalobah, Tosin. Thanks for that. I was like, where's my list going here? And
long list, mate, isn't it?
And then they lose Barry Ashiel, and they lose the young lad Josh Achempo.
Also, I thought it was quite ironic, though. They were still able to bring on a £35 million defender in Hato. So I was that's the other choice centre-backs. Like, not a 16, it's a £35 million defender.
Crazy depth, absolutely. And, in the game state, but I think Liverpool of last year, and maybe this Liverpool will get to that point in a couple of months' time, but the Liverpool of last year would have smelled blood at that point and thought, there's something to be had here. If that team is more settled and they weren't thinking more that way and they were thinking more that way, which feels at the moment they're always thinking more that way, then that team would have pounced and capitalised and really would have hurt Chelsea in the final 20 minutes. But they didn't. They were playing on the counter, and I think they just got swept away by the whole occasion, which was just, honestly, the bridge. Brilliant game of football, but just frenetic.
And possibly with the Andy Robertson of, I think has been the best left back in the Premier League for a good 4 or 5 year period. Do you think maybe the Robertson of kind of season before last maybe deals that a bit better? He's maybe a little bit more alert to what's going on, sees that ball. I thought maybe he was caught out a little bit. Again, it probably wasn't easy coming by. Word on the goalkeeper as well. I thought the 2 goals, he couldn't have done anything about it. But I thought what impressed me with Mamardashvili, balls into the box. You often see goalkeepers come from abroad and they struggle physically, don't they, with balls into the box. But I thought he commanded his area really well. And I thought that was a real positive sign. Yeah,
I thought he'd done well. With Liverpool, we've been lucky a little bit in the last 5, 6, 7 years maybe that the sub-keepers are good.
Keller was outstanding, wasn't he?
Keller was brilliant, and Mamardashvili is looking really good as well.
We're quite unlucky though, aren't we? Have you known a goalkeeper to get injured often?
Ultimately, that's
why he seems to be injured.
He's picking up a few, isn't he? Yeah,
it's
a few seasons on the
That's probably why you've got someone of the quality of Mamardashvili in the
because he's going to play half a dozen times this season, probably, isn't he?
They're going to need him a few more times. Just to build on that, the only thing I would say about Mamardashvili in the first 20 minutes, it's about setting the tone. And he was jittery. And when he got the ball, he'd be quick to get it off his feet because Chelsea were pressing him so intensely because they recognised that, he's new and let's give him a taste.
And the crowd got involved, didn't he, as well?
And the crowd got involved.
Every time he got the ball.
And he put the ball out of play a few times.
Yeah.
That's not going to help a team that's still trying to settle into its groove. So, I suppose, if Alisson's in goal there, you maybe start that game more commandingly.
More composed.
Yeah, because you're not giving the ball away as often. You're not conceding possession. That comes to control again, doesn't it? It's all the way through the park, through your centre-halves and in midfield, but also your keeper as well sets the pace of that.
Obviously, on Inside Liverpool, we're all openly Liverpool fans. He was at Stamford Bridge on Saturday, broadcasting, though, to not Liverpool fan TV. You had to remain neutral, didn't you? So how on earth did you find delivering that 96-minute winner?
Saying to Ollie Klink, talkSPORT's Ollie Klink, sometimes you just get swept away with the moment, and you have to.
You have to give that moment the gravitas, right?
You just have to detach, and if you look at it as well, the kid's 18 years of age, and he scored his first goal in English football. It's quite a moment for Chelsea. And a big one for their season.
The Maresca celebration as well, running down the top.
Also, exactly. Jose Mourinho.
The referee.
How did you get booked for that?
I know. I've got to say, and I know the rules are the rules. Yeah. But do you not think, as a referee, if the referee didn't book Enzo Maresca there, it's not going to be back page news. Outrage, he doesn't get sent off. I thought to myself, let that one go. Are we trying to kill all emotion out of football? He's got a 96th minute winner against the Premier League champions, and even I was a bit like, come on.
What Liverpool fan in the right mind's going to want to see him get booked?
If
he didn't get booked, what Liverpool fans going to be saying he should be booked?
It's not going to be the Liverpool fans saying back up to Liverpool, is it, on the bus?
We had it with Klopp, didn't we? You know what I mean? And the Derby one is the one that stands out, isn't it?
The Alisson hug.
The Origi one, the Alisson hug. I get why he's doing it, and he was apologising after. Look, I got caught up in the moment, and you know, we got a lot of stick off the other fans, didn't we, for the fact that he celebrated like that. But it's the heat of the moment. It's sport. It's professional sport.
You don't take emotion and passion out of football. You might as well just go home and not bother.
I think that you shouldn't be getting yellow cards for taking your shirt off.
I know.
It was obviously with Ekatike, and I was shouting, "Oh my God, what have you done?" Like, but it's part and parcel
Is it really
of the game.
yellow card offence?
I don't think it should be a yellow card.
Next up then, so our next set of games before there's one more international break in November. Premier League, Man United at home, Brentford away, Villa at home.
And I think Eintracht Frankfurt.
City at home, and then in the Champions League, we've got 2 tough Champions League games. Frankfurt away, we got Madrid to come to Anfield as well, and then we got a Carabao Cup game against Crystal Palace. United at home, Paul, you got a season ticket at Anfield. Do you think that game, you know, you've been going to Anfield for many, many years, obviously we know United is struggling at the moment. Does that game still have that edge? Does it still feel as big going to that game as it did, let's say, maybe 5, 10, 20 years ago?
Always, yeah, but Man United fans are going to hate me for saying this. Nowadays, it's excitement because we know we're going to beat them, or we know how well we should be doing against them. Because like I was at Old Trafford last season and Anfield for the home game as well, and I loved being at Old Trafford last season because we're on top and they're in the position we were in the 90s when they were winning everything and we were terrible and we were struggling and we weren't winning.
They ruined our childhood, didn't they?
And it took us 30 years, and I've said all along, I laugh and joke with people like Anthony Crowley, my mate who's a Red, all my mates from Manchester who are all Man United fans. You're just struggling, and I hope it continues. And that's exactly what you were like when we were struggling, when we were down and out, and when we weren't winning anything. But it took us 30 years to win the Premier League, and it might take them the same amount of time.
Well, they're over.
It's been a while now.
They're nearly halfway there.
It's been 14, 15 years now.
And that's almost because Liverpool are so settled, and you know they are a dominant force, and they're very intimidating, and you can beat teams before you get out of the tunnel. You've heard that old adage. But do you have the same confidence going into that United game? Because what's so interesting, I think last year was we played them in January.
0-0, wasn't it?
No, 2-2.
That's when they scored that, yeah.
Remember that. You were there for it. So I'd be interested to see your reflections on that game because, United, who their run was very similar. They came to Anfield. They did a job on us. They scored early. We pulled one back. But they were the team that was sort of, on the cusp of winning that game. So do you still go into it with the same confidence given the season start, or is there still a, I
won't this time. I won't have that confidence this time because of how we've started, obviously. And listen, I'm not expecting much this season, and I haven't been since before the ball was kicked. And I'm not trying to be, be smart and make out like I'm knowledgeable. I'm not. I'm a fan. But I'm not expecting much this season because of the amount of changes that we've had. Obviously, Josh is a huge part of it. And the new manager is finally getting to do his own thing with a team, but he's obviously having to change a lot because the old team that won the league isn't the team that's there no more.
So this summer was a transitional summer, wasn't it?
100%.
Like last year was the handover, this year's the rebuild, isn't it?
But it was supposed to be transitional last season. It wasn't. Yeah. We hit the ground running. We all had the season that none of us probably expected, and we absolutely had a ball, and it was great, and we won the league again. This season will be tough, I think, but back to what we were saying about United, like it's been that long since they've won the league, and I think a lot of us and a lot of Arsenal fans need to remember also it's been even longer for them. And winning the league, there's players in our team and there's players in our squad and there's players and there's staff on the whole setup that have won the league, and some of them have done it a couple of times. There's none really like that in the Arsenal setup, and when it comes down to a run in this season, I think that's what might. Obviously, if we start getting the results,
interesting.
That's what might be the deciding factor as it was last time.
I look at Arsenal
to win the league, and I don't think they do.
Yeah, see, because I look at that. I take your point. I look at the Arsenal team on paper. It looks pretty stacked now, doesn't it? They've almost got two.
The bench was unbelievable as well now.
And he's able to kind of make 3-4 changes now every game. He's bringing in players like Ellard and whoever it might be. They do look really stacked, and they're not conceding many goals. But it's interesting that point.
I've heard a lot about Arteta as well, that he's an unbelievable manager, I believe. And I laugh and joke, and I call him the bridesmaid. And I'm tongue-in-cheek making jokes with my Arsenal mates, and I'm on social media throwing a little...
Oh, I've seen your social media.
I throw a little rod out all the time.
I went on social media today, by the way. you on X. Balloons coming down. It's your birthday today, by the way, isn't it? Happy birthday, mate. I wish we could be celebrating sort of 3 points on the weekend, but...
So do I, but listen, it is what it is.
Is there a better way to spend your birthday than doing Inside Liverpool with me and Ryan, and then talk boxing with Simon Jordan, right?
Absolutely.
Don't look a day over 32 years of age. Don't look a day over 32 years of age, isn't it? But come on, I think it's been, in terms of performances, right? Yeah. We know we haven't been at our best, but the positives are we're second in the table. We're 1 point behind Arsenal. Yeah. I think people are using the word crisis at the moment with Liverpool. Let's not be so pathetic and ridiculous. We're the Premier League champions. We're the best team in the country. Things haven't been perfect. We've still got the points on the board. And I've got no doubt that as the season goes on, Stott's going to find the right system. He's going to find the right balance, perhaps. And I've got no doubt that we're going to go on runs. And I tell you what, there'll be no better way to find that moment, that confidence, than by smashing Manchester United at Anfield a week on Sunday. Wirtz to get a goal, Isak to get a goal in front of the Kop, some of that celebration. And then we'll see what Gary Neville's saying on Sunday at 4:30 on his podcast, right? You know?
Yeah, crisis is overblown.
Mini crisis, I've heard.
Yeah,
crisis.
Yeah, I know. And it's because it is very sensationalist, but that's just, it's so extreme, football now. The views on football
that's
now.
the modern day fans.
It's sort of, they're either good or they're not. And it's not put like that usually. It's usually put like that in a...
We can bleep it out if you want to say it.
They usually say it, far sharper than that. I think what we have to recognise is this next couple of weeks is defining. In terms of the season context, we saw last year how we pulled away from Arsenal because we built that lead and we didn't look back. But this is quite defining because if we start to lose the pace here, then Arsenal are going to have 5, 6, 7 point gap. And even City, wouldn't count City out just yet. They've got vulnerability about them. They made hard work of getting over the line against Brentford. We've still got bags of quality. And when Haaland's spearheading the line and the way he scored that goal yesterday, he can win anybody game. So, I think Liverpool have got to recognise that they need to land on a team. They need to have an 11 now that they're going to stick to in the Premier League and, have those rotations in the Champions League, get that consistency, set that stall out for the next 6, 7 weeks, up until Christmas. Got a clear idea of how we're going to play. And might need to, he's had the time to experiment now. We'll all give him that grace.
Sure,
because we're 1 point off the top. But now we have to settle. Now is the time to settle. He's got some time over the international break to think about what he wants to do.
Got a long 13 days now, doesn't he? Until the Man United game.
Yeah, he won't be going to Ibiza now, will he?
Maybe that's what he needs. Maybe he needs a few days to Ibiza.
Some lounge ago like that. How do I get Ekatike and Isak in the same
system? He'll just be sat in his office, head down in his book, trying to work out how do I get the best out of Florian Wirtz. And you're going to be there, Paul, aren't you? Which is good. And also now, if you're going to be part of Inside Liverpool moving forward, maybe you could drop a text to your mate Jamie Carragher. We can get Jamie Carragher, can't we, on the big screen? Get him on the show. We've got a good one here, right? We've got a good one.
Yeah. He's a talent agent, as I call him, Paul.
No, he's a man of many talents. Man of many talents. Gents, that's absolutely fine, boy. Thank you very much, Ryan. Thank you very much, Paul.
Thank you.
Inside Liverpool is going to be back in 2 weeks' time. So we play Man United a week on Sunday. First game back after the international break. We'll be doing another show the morning after that. Liverpool fans watching, mini crisis. Let's all just settle down. It's been a tricky week, but Liverpool Football Club still second in the Premier League table, going okay. We've had a tough set of fixtures. There'll be no better way to bounce back than beating Man United at home a week on Sunday. Thank you for watching Inside Liverpool on talkSPORT's YouTube channel and on your smart TVs. We'll be back in a couple of weeks' time.